I would say what you practice, you become. So if you practice being stressy, if you get regularly in a stressful situation with your dog, probably think about whether you need to be doing that. Do you need to be walking them? Do you need to be competing them? Do you need to be taking them to the pub? If you on a regular basis are finding yourself in a stressful situation at the other end of the leash with your dog, is that something that's necessary? And I would say if you're finding yourself stressed out, probably not.
So if we step outside the front door and we're already worried, stressed that something might happen, why do we keep repeating it? We need to change it.
Welcome to the absoluteDOGS Sexier and Squirrel podcast. I'm Lauren Langman. I'm one of the world's leading dog trainers, and it's my mission to help owners become their dog's top priority. In each episode, you'll discover how to gain trust and communicate with your dog like never before, creating unbreakable bonds that make you the most exciting part of their world.
Hello and welcome to the Sexier and Squirrel podcast, the podcast that gives you real life dog training and today human results too. Now, today I'm joined by the wonderful Linda Hughes. She's an amazing obedience instructor and a dog trainer. And we're talking about the other end of the leash or the lead, depending on where you come from. Now, Linda, I know we were discussing this topic only recently when we were training together. How much impact the other end of the leash really has? Like, it has big impact, right? Where do we start?
Well, where do we start? Even if you are a pet owner and you've got some struggles with your dog, how you are around your dog and how you communicate with your dog, how you help your dog to learn is all really, really important. Then if you are a PDT person and a trainer, you're in the people business. You have to take care of the person as much as help the person to train the dog.
It's massive, isn't it? I love that saying. I think that's an amazing part that we really need to pull from this. You are in the people business. You might think you're here because you love dogs and you want to train dogs and you want to cover yourself in dogs. But actually, if you don't like people, you're not going to go very far. You have to not just like people, you have to get people, you have to emotionally connect with people, you have to know people, you have to feel people in an interesting way. Like, you have to really be able to make it, you have to be able to empathize with people, sympathize with people, jump on board with crazy training programs, and also sometimes reel them right back and say, no, we can't go there right now. Like, you really have to get people, don't you?
You have to be able to listen properly. You have to be able to ask questions clearly. You have to be able to check understanding. So, like, if this makes sense to you, write sense in the comments. You have to be able to understand people's different emotional states and how you can help them to change that or manage it. There's loads. I mean, we talk about giving dogs dopamine rushes by making training fun and positive, but you've got to do the same for the people so that they have a pleasurable experience from their training. I mean, I have a very dry sense of humor, but most of my students have a good laugh when they're training with me. And that is so important, because that fun element and that ability to let go and just enjoy each other's company is really, really important. But then on the other hand, you have to be patient. You have to have clear boundaries. So you have to know where you and the other person begin and end. You have to manage the other person's expectations. There's so much that you have to do that is a people-based skill.
The other thing I was thinking, and this is huge, Poppy taught me this, a bit like Kelsey taught you some different things, really. Poppy taught me that if I wasn't going to have it and sort it and be on top of it, and Poppy was a very different dog to Kelsey, but Poppy was still a very nervous dog, but in a different way. She was outwardly shouty about it, but she actually just didn't like dogs. The other end of the leash for me meant I had to have it. I had to absolutely be able to control it. I had to absolutely tell her that I've got this sorted. You do not need to be involved. Yeah. I'm going to look after the situation. So if I went in with that leash tight and worried and anxious or jolty or pulley or any of those things, if I wasn't Lara Croft and sticking my chest out, she basically was like, I'll be in charge of this situation and I'm going to sort everyone out. And she would definitely be that border collie, clear meaning of the word bitch, to be honest. She'd be that border collie bitch and she'd be absolutely on top of everything. Whereas if you said, you know what, I've got this, you get back there, you're going to be just fine. You stay out of it. I'll look after the situation. She was like, oh my God, what a relief. Finally, she speaks sense, this woman. She's going to look after me. The more I took control of a situation, the better and better she got. So she actually got better and better and got more and more appropriate in situations. The more that I said, I can handle this situation. And it all happened from the other end of the leash. So it started with the leash being nice and loose, very relaxed, no tension in it, no fear or anxiety or worry that something was going to go terribly wrong. It was all the other end of the leash.
Absolutely. I mean, my Kelsey was an anxious dog and was unsure of certain situations. She was absolute sweetheart with every dog and person she met. But if I went anywhere with her to compete and I was uptight or I was out of sorts or I was stressed in any way, she would pick that up and she couldn't perform. And she'd sort of say, well, if you're scared, I'm going to have to be scared as well. So that ability of dogs to pick up on our emotional state is really, really key to so much of our relationship with dogs. We use that ability in dogs for therapy dogs and dogs that help people in all sorts of ways and pick up on medical alert dogs. All of that is the dog's sensitivity to the person's emotional state. So it's up to us to coach the people to have control of their emotional state, be able to alter their inner state to one that is appropriate for their dog.
It's massive, isn't it? It's massive. And if you think about some of the dogs that are used for therapy now, like they are incredible. They're reading like nervous twitches, they're reading like anxiety moments, they're reading someone putting their head on the floor and them lifting their head up, and they're reading like diabetic moments, they're reading like pre-diabetic moments, they're reading, I mean, dogs are just absolutely brilliant at reading the human body.
They are.
And just like you say, really, the other end of the leash, I think the thing we've got to be aware of is whether we know or whether we don't, actually this is happening all the time. And so our dogs are reading us 24/7, whether we're involved in that or not, or whether we're publicly acknowledging that, or whether we're acknowledging that in any fashion is another matter. The dogs are doing it anyway. The dogs are doing it anyway. Whether we want to be involved in it or not, the dogs are doing it.
24/7, they're doing it. And that really is where some of the things like working with people with pet dogs who have got struggles at home, and the idea of managing the situation. So putting management in place. And they don't understand that when they've switched off and they've got their feet up and they're watching, I don't know, soap operas or something, and the dog's still reading what's going on. The dog is still, so if that dog is picking up some stress in the household or whatever and hasn't been taught to be calm, then it's not going to be a calm dog, and it may have behavioral problems and struggles because of that. So the importance of managing ourselves so that we can help the dogs is absolutely crucial to all dog training, because it is about that relationship. Even if, as you say, even if we don't want to acknowledge it or are not aware of it.
Which is massive, isn't it? Because I think that's one of the things, whether we don't want to or we don't, or we can't, or we don't see it, I think we've got to be aware it's happening all the time. So I think it's happening all the time. So I think some top tips for being aware of the other end of the leash. For me and my dogs, one of my top tips would be try really hard to have a loose leash where you can. Try really hard to have a loose and relaxed leash. And even if you're not relaxed, try really hard to take yourself to a relaxed place. So if I think of a relaxed place, I want you to play the game with me too, Linda. If I think of a relaxed place, I'm pretty much here actually. I've got my fire on, I've got a candle on, I've got quite a serene setting. I've got like plants in my background. I've got nice lights. I feel calm. I've got calm music. That's the place I want to take myself to when I'm handling a dog. because whether even in, and this is a great one, and you'll have experienced this in competition. In competition, Blink can handle me wired. She can handle me like ready, steady, I'm going to go crazy. Venture, I have to be cool, calm as a cucumber. If she feels that I'm getting uppity, then she's getting uppity too. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, she's she's too much. I have to keep myself quite anchored and grounded. And for Poppy, it was always from the behavior point of view, like she was much more likely to run off, chase, bark, bite a dog if I was feeling upset about it. The more upset I was, the more upset the other end of the leash is. So I think whether it's competition, whether it's pet dog, whether it's a naughty dog, or whether it's sort of a big final at a big event like Crufts or Olympia or Horse of the Year show or any of those things, you being able to be as cool and calm and collected as you can, that would be my number one tip.
Yes. So that we are a crucial part of the team.
Oh, huge. It's definitely 50-50.
Absolutely. And to think that we just happen to give out instructions or whatever it is we think we do to the dog if we're not part of the relationship is misguided. We are a crucial part of the team, and how we are will affect our dog's behavior.
Hugely.
Always. Yeah. And so being reliable, being consistent, being non-judgmental, they're all things that our dogs need of us. And they're all things that our clients need of us as well. So that we are always genuine and grounded and open to whatever the dog brings to us or the client brings to us.
That's just brilliant. And if we take that again as another one, I would say, for the other end of the leash and thinking about dogs and humans and everything else, I would say what you practice, you become. So if you practice being stressy, if you get regularly in a stressful situation with your dog, probably think about whether you need to be doing that. Do you need to be walking them? Do you need to be competing them? Do you need to be taking them to your nan's house or your son's house or your daughter's house or your granddaughter's house? Do you need to be taking them to the pub? If you on a regular basis are finding yourself in a stressful situation at the other end of the leash with your dog, is that something that's necessary? Is it kind? Is it needed? And I would say, if you're finding yourself stressed out, probably not. And whether that's a competition is optional. My dogs do not care whether they go to competitions. My dogs really like having a romp in the woods or a walk on the beach. And if I was going to pick the two, I'd pick the beach because it's cleaner and I love a beach. But you know what? Your dog doesn't really care about the competition or the pub or anything else. So for me, I think it's really important that we don't continue to allow our dog to rehearse what we don't want, the other end of the leash.
And to actually induce them to rehearse what we don't want, because we're in a state ourselves.
Yeah.
So if we step outside the front door and we're already worried, stressed that something might happen, that the dog from down the road is going to lunge at the fence or something and we're going to have another incident, why do we keep repeating it? That's the definition of madness, is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. We need to change it. We need to change something. And usually that's us. The human end of the lead needs to be doing something different. And then we find the dogs are different.
Exactly. And on that point, really, human end of the leash, if there's someone you feel really confident around when you've got your hold of your leash, then go and mix with them a bit more. So Linda, I know if you came to an agility show, I'd be a bit more confident than I am normally at an agility show, because you're someone that always gives me more confidence. And I'm sure if I came to an obedience show supporting you, I'm sure that would do the same. It would give you a bit more confidence.
It would feed into my confidence. Yes, absolutely.
And so I think it's really important that we're aware that the other end of the leash, it matters who you hang out with your dog. So if your partner isn't a fan of your dog, or if your partner winds your dog up, or if your partner winds you up, or if your best friend loves your dog or doesn't like your dog or whatever, know that all that feeds down. So our dogs are just genius at reading emotional intelligence moments. So if something is liked, disliked, anxious, overexcited, buzzy, whatever, just being aware that that all feeds down, all of that feeds through.
It does. And certainly with the friends and partners side of things, I know people get in the struggle where they have a plan of how they want to be with their dog, but they take that home and it gets a bit undermined or sabotage or whatever happens. We as trainers have to help people to advocate for the dog, because that's my job when I'm out and about with my own dogs. I am their advocate, and I've got, as you know, some anxious dogs. And I have to step forward and advocate for them in situations where other people are not being particularly helpful.
And an advocate moment might be Linda saying to somebody else, we can't stay and play right now. She doesn't find the situation particularly comfortable, but lovely to see you. I'll see you really soon. So it doesn't have to be, for those of you listening, it doesn't have to be something rude or something someone doesn't like or something that's negative. It just has to be something that says, that's not going to grow my dog in the right direction. And so because it's not going to grow my dog in the right direction, I'm going to exit right now. Right, Linda?
Absolutely, because I'm doing a lot of socializing with Ulla at the moment, and so I'm up in the town centre with her, getting her sort of like acclimatized to a lot of noise and people that she's not enjoying particularly. But she's a pretty dog, as you know, and so people are going, "Oh, isn't she lovely? Isn't she a lovely colour?" And I'm having to say, I thank you so much. Yes, she's very pretty, but as you can see, she's a little anxious. So we're just going to move over there. So I'm very polite about it, but I don't want people coming up and undermining what I'm trying to do with her. So you can advocate in the nicest possible way. And I've had some conversations with people about how beautiful she is, but I'm, 4, 5, 10 yards away from them, smiling, being pleasant, but I'm not letting them come up and stroke her.
And I think that's so key, isn't it? Being able to advocate at the other end of the leash. Here's my final point, Linda. And this is, if you are agitated at the other end of the leash, don't let your dog know it. So if you can, when you get agitated, and I get agitated when someone lets their dog pile into mine. And someone messaged the other day on one of my posts, I posted something on social media and someone said, where's the other dog? And I was like, I don't take out more than 4. 4 is my limit. Once I go over 4, I cannot handle it when someone else lets their dog run into my group. And it depends on the dog as to whether I can handle it. And I think 4 is enough for Matt and I to get on a lead and to handle. I don't really like more than 4.
Right.
4 feels comfy, and I'd prefer to just take a different 4 out, or I'd prefer to do 2 walks, or I'd prefer to rotate them, or I'd prefer to say train some at home and take some others out. And I'm okay with that. Like, that's okay for me. And that's really important, guys, that you do what's okay for you. I'm okay that not everyone gets the same walk. I'm okay that I do different walks. I like the variety. I don't need them to have the same thing every single day. Not everyone has the same food. Not everyone has the same exercise. Not everyone has the same handling every day. They all have different things. And I like that variety. But I think it's really important, if something does go wrong for your dog when you're out on a walk, that you don't find yourself getting really angry about it if you can help it. So if I can help it, I'm like, okay, that happened. That wasn't ideal. Let's carry on walking, rather than, can you get your dog on a lead? He's not friendly. I don't care. Rah, 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 rah. And you do hear people doing that. The thing is, in all of those moments, what you feed down to the other end of the leash, it has gone wrong. It's not getting better. Get yourself out of dodge, make yourself a cup of tea, put your dog away for a bone. Like, don't make it difficult, right?
And you're telling the dog in those moments, if you get stressed, you're telling the dog there is something to worry about. Something awful has happened. Whereas if you just go, thank you very much, bye, or whatever, or just move on, then the dog has no idea that it was such a big deal, really. Like, it happened in a moment. Nobody died, that's what I say. I move on with my dog and I go, that's all right, kids, nobody died. And off we go.
It is. It's hey ho, off we go. Nobody died. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And that's certainly a line to live by. And so, Linda, loads there on the other end of the lead and the human end of the lead, and actually managing ourselves as supposedly the bigger brain, but some days I question that. And supposedly with a bigger brain, supposedly we're the ones who know what we're doing and able to handle it. There's so much to learn in this space though. And most importantly, and I really do believe this is most importantly, we're always growing. So not being too hard on ourselves. Linda, it's been a pleasure having you and talking the human end of the leash. How important on a scale of 1 to 10 is the human end of the leash?
Well, it's 10. Because without the human end of the leash, the dogs would be nowhere.
And it's mega, and it's something to know about, and it's something to be aware of, and it's something that you at home can all impact and you can all help. So Linda, it's been a pleasure. Will you be coming back and joining us soon?
I hope so, very, very soon. We'll find
Good.
something else to natter about, won't we?
I can't wait. So Linda, that's Linda. She's championship obedience handler. She's an amazing trainer. And I feel very privileged to have her talking to us about the human end of the lead, the other end of the lead, the possibly most important, but actually both ends are important. Guys, we hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you like it, share it, love it, review it, send it to your friends, mother, sister, father, brother. And we hope to see you next week where we're tackling something completely different. We'll see you guys real soon.